If you've been using cognitive behavioral therapy and it's not working, I want you to know you're not failing. CBT is failing you. And so if you've spent any amount of time trying to fix your emotional reactions or to become more emotional regulated, then you've undoubtedly been handled the golden child of modern psychology by your therapist, CBT. And you've probably been told to challenge your negative, or your cognitive distortions, and you filled out all of the worksheets, and you've practiced reframing all of your thoughts, and you've been trained to catch yourself catastrophizing and force your brain to look at all the logical facts. And in the safety of your therapist's office, it all makes perfect logical sense. But that's not what you're experiencing. What's happening when you get triggered? What happens at 2 a.m. when your mind is racing and your partner uses that specific tone or has that look in their eye? Your logic goes completely offline. And you can recite all your CBT homework perfectly, yet you still spiral emotionally. You still snap. Or even worse, you just shut down. And then the worst part of it is the guilt sets in. You think, I have all the tools. I know better. Why the heck can't I just control my mind? Well, I want you to know, again, it is not your fault. You're not failing at CBT. It's failing you. Treating your childhood trauma and your deep emotional dysregulation with cognitive thought work is literally putting a Band-Aid over open heart surgery. It just treats the symptom while completely ignoring the root cause of why you're emotionally dysregulated and your mind is racing with thoughts. So I'm going to give you something that actually works. And we're going to start by, I want you to think of something. I'm going to use a metaphor here. I want you to think of your emotional capacity like a teapot on a stove. And so every time a stressful event happens, every time you take on, say, someone else's feelings and they just rage at you, or every time you overfunction and try and do too much, or somebody just emotionally turns their faucet onto you and adds their water into your teapot, you basically don't pay attention to it. But eventually, that teapot gets full. That burner is on high, and the kettle just starts screeching. And so what do? You explode on your spouse. Maybe it's in the car after a long day. Or you just completely collapse in exhaustion. CBT and their coping skills just teach you how to temporarily muffle the screeching, or just push that lid on the teapot down harder. They're just trying to get you to manage the steam, but their process does absolutely nothing to drain the water or turn off the stove. So in this video, I'm going to give you a root level solution. I'm going to show you why changing your thoughts will never change your life or create emotional regulation. And I'm going to do that by showing you how to use my emotional authenticity method so you can finally drain that teapot at the root. All right? So to do that, I just have to say a few things that are going to land uncomfortably. Emotional intelligence, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, and even internal family systems, all of them operate on the same fundamental flaw. They assume you can think or skill or manage your way out of these feelings and into change. And they tell you just, change your thoughts or use a coping skill or talk to your fragmented parts and that will change your feelings. It won't. The scientific proof that shatters all of those illusions are that your thoughts do not control your emotions. Your emotions control your thoughts. So think of your thoughts like images on a movie screen, okay? And your emotions are the projector itself. Now, cognitive behavioral therapy teaches you to walk up to the screen and try to erase it or reframe the picture, all right? But the projector is still running your emotions. It's the exact same film. You're messing with the screen, but the source is the projector. And that's your childhood emotional blueprint. It's the film putting those thoughts on the screen. And if your blueprint was programmed in childhood to believe that you're unworthy or you're unsafe, Well, the moment somebody pulls away from you, your emotional projector just instantly casts that childhood memory onto your present reality, and that's what's creating your thought. So your thoughts are just reading that emotional blueprint script of the movie that your body is stuck replaying. You can't change that movie by arguing with the screen or arguing with your thoughts or ignoring your thought. Your thoughts are an indication of the unhealed emotional blueprint that's running your life. Now, Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, the most cited neuroscientist in the last couple of years, proved this, that your feelings are actually driving your next thought. Because what happens is your brain uses your earliest emotional perceptions to make predictions of anything you're experiencing in the moment. It pulls from that past to go, this means that. And that means it doesn't matter how old you are. You're not reacting in the present. Your brain has categorized your earliest emotional experiences and the bodily sensations you experienced in that moment, and all of them are based on your earliest experiences. And from that combination of the emotional event and the physical reaction in your nervous system, it uses that to predict what you should do in this moment at 2 a.m. when your mind is racing. So at 2 a.m., you're not present. You're back here. CBT doesn't even tell you that. Emotional intelligence, DBT, none of them get you to deal with the root. So when you try to use logic or reframe or a coping skill to fix a feeling, you're just using the wrong tool, the wrong hardware. Ian McGilchrist, another famous neuroscientist, his research shows that this attempt to be really hyper-logical and activate the left hemisphere isn't the best approach. Because our left hemisphere is a denial-making monster. The so-called logical, smart part of our brain is actually incredibly stupid, all right? It will even double down when shown complete proof that it's wrong, and then, even worse, it'll take it a step further. It'll take the victim stance and blame other people. How many times have you sat across from somebody who did that? You give them undeniable proof, and they flip it and go, oh, I didn't do that. And then they go, how dare you attack me? That's because they're stuck in their left hemisphere. They're not dealing with the root solution. Okay? So trying to think your way out of a trigger literally detaches you from your embodied experience, which is exactly what we need to treat the emotion and the emotional reaction in our nervous system at the root of where the original emotional trauma event lives. So he points out very clearly, you have to know your emotional landscape at the root. And when you do, that creates the highest form of actual intellect. Okay? So what this means is when you get triggered, you aren't reacting in the moment to your partner or your boss or your friend or your child. Your brain is actually scanning the environment. It's recognizing a tone it's heard before, a facial expression it's seen, and it's saying, oh, I know what this looks like. I know this feeling. This is just like when I'd walk in and mom was passed out on the floor naked, drunk. This is just like when dad left the house and didn't say goodbye. So your brain is predicting the present based on a childhood emotional blueprint. And that's why none of those tools, none of those processes, while they're very well intentioned, they will not give you emotional regulation. Okay? So when these events happen, your adult authentic self gets thrown in the backseat of the car, and your wounded, shame-based child just grabs that steering wheel and just starts destroying everything in your life. All right? It's driving into trees and destroying people, places, and things and relationships. So you don't need a breathing technique to calm that child down. It won't work. And you don't need to break yourself into tiny little parts. That will just actually cement the disconnection from yourself. all right? What you need is to learn how to take the wheel back, but do it at the root level of the emotion and the earliest somatic physical experiences. And I'm going to show you how to do that, or at least the beginning stages of how to do that. But first, to completely understand why thought work really just keeps you stuck, you're going to have to look at the engine that's driving all of it. That's, driving the shame-based child, the engine of the car, all right? And that's something I discovered, and I call it the worst day cycle. So the way this works is in your childhood, you experience trauma. And trauma is any negative emotional experience or event that you had a negative emotional reaction to. Well, we all have thousands of those. And that overwhelmed your nervous system. And that overwhelm of your nervous system is why you feel physically when you see or experience something. And that's because it generated fear. All right? Now, because you were too young to process it, you internalized that trauma and that fear as though you're to blame. And that self-blame creates shame, which you can think of as self-assassination, not on purpose. You weren't trying to do this, all right? You did it to protect yourself. And because if I'm to blame, do you see the advantage why a brilliant strategy of a child to blame themselves is if I'm to blame, it means I could be different. And if I'm different, then they'll react and treat me better. And so that's why your child takes that trauma and fear and blames itself, because it's actually looking for a solution. All right. So I want you to hear this. You're not bad. You're not defective. Every child does this. It's a survival strategy to blame themselves so that they can find a solution. Okay. All right. Now, unfortunately, that self-blame creates stage 3 of the worst day cycle, shame. And that shame is just so overwhelming because think of it, when we blame ourselves, we just think we aren't good enough. We don't like ourselves. Now that's too big for any child to survive or get through. Even now, I'm thinking most people, when they hear what I'm saying, they're already feeling that sense of, ooh, I don't want to go there. Well, that's why there's stage 4 of the worst day cycle, denial. Nope, not going to feel it, not true. Mom and dad were perfect. I'm okay. None of this matters. This wall, so I don't have to feel that trauma, fear, blame, shame. It's too big. Now, what this denial portion of the cycle does, and the brilliant child inside of you, in that moment, it created a survival persona. It went, oh, so this is who I'm going to have to become to fit into this family system. And now most people think that's their personality. That's who they are. Well, unfortunately, your survival persona is just the mask that all of us wear. Some people call it the ego or the shadow. There's all these different terms. They're all the same. We all wear it just to survive the worst day cycle. And so, you could have become a high achiever or an intellectual or an overthinker or a people pleaser. Whatever your personality traits are, those are your survival personas. Maybe you're the avoidant. Whatever it is, these parts, as IFS would call them, which they're not, they're survival personas, they're detachment. And IFS is trying to get you to basically give them more power and keep you more stuck. That's why it doesn't work. So these parts of you believe if I can just analyze this or organize it and think my way through it, I won't have to feel that original root pain. Well, the difficulty for most people is that they don't even know this is the process going on. All right? They haven't been told by CBT, DBT, emotional intelligence, IFS, that in the first 7 years of your life, our brain is in a theta brainwave state, which is the exact same state as hypnosis. So you developed this persona before you ever fully developed cognition. That's why most people say, Kenny, this isn't true. I didn't go through trauma. My childhood was great. Parents were great. I'm sure it was great. And your parents were great. But parents are human. And they have emotional moments too. And all of those got dumped into us when we were in hypnosis. And by the time we got cognition, it came online. We went, oh, this is my personality. This is who I am. We're completely detached from the reality that it's not. These are survival personas. And so that's why you think this is your personality. And you can't see it for what it really is. It's again why CBT is just an emotional trap for people. It doesn't dismantle your survival persona. It actually empowers it. So does IFS. They just give your survival persona a brand new set of highly sophisticated tools to continue avoiding the root feelings, your root emotional blueprint, and keep alive your worst day cycle. They teach you how to become an expert at detaching and intellectualizing your trauma instead of feeling it and healing it. So the problem with traditional therapy is that it just tells you you need to go into the dark room of your past to heal. But it doesn't give you any candles. It doesn't give you a flashlight. It just pushes you into the darkness with your thoughts and asks you to blindly think your way around the room. Well, that sounds terrifying. No wonder nobody wants to deal with their underlying emotions. And that's why your nervous system resists it. And you're like, yeah, I don't even want to go back and look at my childhood. And so what everybody needs, and what you need specifically, is a structured map. You need a flashlight to expose the emotional blueprint that's keeping you trapped in your worst day cycle. So just allow me for a minute to kind of be that flashlight for you. And let's shine a light really on what's happening inside your nervous system by looking at that Grand Theft Auto metaphor I kind of talked about earlier. I want you to think of your internal landscape like it's a car. All right? Now, in a mature and moderate emotional system, what I call, the authentic self cycle, which combats the worst day cycle, when you know how to operate that cycle, you're sitting in the driver's seat. You're holding the steering wheel. Your wounded inner child and your shame-based child, they're in the back seat. They're securely buckled in, and they're taken care of. You can hear them and notice them, but they're not driving the car. But because of your trauma and your unhealed emotional blueprint, that shame voice has learned to survive by vaulting over the center console, like just pushing you aside and grabbing the steering wheel and driving that car. So when you find yourself getting triggered, whether it's, maybe it's your partner or it's a boss, all that's happened is your shame-based child. They've jumped over the seat and they've taken that steering wheel and they're driving your life. And that child's going to slam on the gas. It's going to crash into trees and run over people and basically destroy you and everything in its path. Now, why does it do that? Because that emotional pain is just too big, that shame. It's just trying to protect itself from feeling the original unhealed abandonment or feeling of being inadequate or whatever the emotional landscape was in your childhood and that original emotional blueprint wounding that you experienced. And so your adult self has just been relegated and stuffed in the back seat for a lot of people in their trunk. And it's just watching the chaos, completely helpless, because it hasn't been given a process to be activated. All right? Well, unfortunately, here's what CBT tries to do. From that back seat, CBT sort of leans over to that terrified, shame-filled child who's driving into everything and just crashing the car into tree after tree. And it tries to teach it how to be a better driver. Now think of it. Think of you at 2, 4, 7, 10 years old, trying to drive a car. You can't even see over the hood. And CBT is trying to get you to be a better driver. And it's saying, look at the evidence. Well, I can't even see over the hood. And it's saying, do you see you're catastrophizing? Now just reframe it. Just drive differently. Well, you don't even know how to drive. Put your hands here. Push it. You can barely reach the gas pedal. You can't touch the brakes. You're too small and short. And CBT is saying, you need to drive better. You're a child. It's absolutely absurd. A child is not supposed to drive a car. You don't need to teach that shame voice how to think more positively. It's not capable of it. All right? What you need is a process to lovingly get your adult, authentic self into the front seat and lovingly take the wheel out of your shame voice's hands and put it back and put that child back in the safety of the back seat and allow your authentic self back into the driver's seat. Now, there's only one way to do that. And the only way you're going to do that is you're going to have to learn how to address the emotion where it originated. So then what's the obvious question? How do we get back in the front seat of our emotional car? Well, that's why I developed my emotional authenticity method, because it's the only process that takes care of all of this at the root level. None of the other ones do. They are symptom-based, they're Band-Aids over open heart surgery. They're going to stop a little spigot of blood, but they're not going to seal the wound. My emotional authenticity method takes care of the heart at the root level and stitches it up. All right? And that's because it activates your anterior prefrontal cortex, that part of your brain that's designed for true self-observation, not CBT, which is using the left side, which is a denial-making monster. And when you use the emotional authenticity method, it activates what's called metacognition, which is the highest form of intellect because it puts you in that space between your intellect and your emotion. So you have the full scope of your life experience. Without experiencing the pain from that, you can honestly assess and recalibrate and rebuild an emotional blueprint into something that works for you. Okay? And the emotional authenticity method is the only process that will achieve this. Okay? So the next time you get triggered, the next time it's 2 a.m. and your thoughts are just racing, and that shame-based child has built the case against whether it's your partner or your best friend, or maybe it's your child, or even yourself. This time I want you to stop using CBT. Stop trying to reframe your thoughts. You're wasting your time. Instead, I want you to activate metacognition. And the first way you do that is pause and listen. You just do this. Pause right now for 15 seconds, focus on what you can hear, and you'll immediately feel your whole nervous system drop. Now, it's better if you can do it longer, 60 seconds, and you do it repeatedly, but this becomes a learned practice. Is anytime you're activated, I just do it all day. Like when I'm walking around, all I'm doing is listening. I'm hardly ever thinking. I'm trying to live in metacognition. All right, that's where safety lives. That's where authentic self lives. But you're just learning this. So take 15 seconds and focus on everything you can hear. All right? I have found with myself and most clients, the best is listen to your breath. You can listen to the furnace. Like now I'm hearing the birds outside. A car just drove by. I have tinnitus. I'm hearing my ear ringing right now. I'm hearing my finger hit my ear. I'm also hearing there's a slight ruffle with my pants against the chair. Like I'm hearing all of these sounds. Just focus on whatever it is. And by focusing on that, you stop your thoughts. They're gone. You become grounded and reattached somatically. And that opens the door to metacognition. Now we're going to move into the emotional authenticity method. And we're going to start with 4 just incredibly simple little questions. The first one is, what am I feeling right now? Now, you can grab a feelings wheel on my website or just go to Google. The key here is don't tell yourself about the story that, they did this and so I feel this. No, just wipe away they did and just go, I feel. Don't engage the shame story. I'm such a bad person. Well, if that's what you're saying, you hear yourself saying, ask yourself, why do I feel that way? Oh, I feel that way because I feel powerless. I feel sad. I feel neglected. abandoned, unseen, unheard, discounted, invisible, taken for granted, whatever it is. Find that core emotion that you're feeling. Then move to question number 2. Where in my body do I feel that? Again, get out of your thoughts. If the thoughts come up, 15 more seconds of focusing on what you can hear, focus on what you feel in your body. This is what's getting us into metacognition. We have to reconnect somatically. CBT doesn't do this, okay? And that's why it's ineffective. So get into your body. What is it you feel? Is your chest tight? Is your throat closed? Is your stomach in knots? What's happening? Your body holds the emotional wounding truth that your mind has been trying to deny, and that's what makes your mind race. It's feeling this and that emotion, and it's trying to make sense of it. Well, we have to reconnect to it. And the next 2 questions are going to set you free from all of that. Question number 3, ask yourself, what's your earliest memory of having this exact same feeling, meaning sadness, anger, whatever, and the body sensation? And this is the moment you find the original emotional blueprint. This feeling is not about today. Whatever it is you're sad or angry or scared or feeling inadequate about, now you can see by looking back, this feeling takes you to that first time your parent minimized you or was too tired to talk to you, or when you were forced to be their emotional caretaker for them, or because they were a single parent and worked all the time, you had to take care of all your brothers and sisters. And when you make this connection, you realize, oh my God, you're right. I am stuck in the worst day cycle. My whole life is stuck on an emotional blueprint. No wonder CBT doesn't work, because I'm not reacting to the past. And it makes sense why I can't erase this thought off the movie screen, because my emotional projector is reliving the past. I'm not reacting to the present. And this is the moment your adult authentic self climbs over back into the driver's seat. So now that you're here, shame is in the back seat. I want you to ask question number 4. What would I think and feel if I never had this negative thought or feeling ever again? What if it wasn't even possible that the English language and emotions could never create this thought and feeling? It was completely wiped off the face of the earth. This becomes your game changer. This final question is what reconnects you to your authentic self and with who you truly are before your earliest emotional painful experiences. This is how you drain that teapot at the root to form a brand new emotional neural pathway blueprint that you can now fill with new emotional definitions, meanings, and predictions. So do this. Pick an old feeling. Find it in your body. And ask yourself, if this feeling could be wiped away from the face of the earth and it wasn't even possible to think or feel this ever again, what would be left over? What would you think and feel then? Can you feel it? Can you see it? Every time I do this with my clients, they almost, it can vary a little bit, but usually the first feeling is, I feel lighter. They're no longer carrying that shame. The shame is actually out of the car now. It's not on their back. All that shame and pain they've been carrying for years, all that self-blame is gone. So now they're light. They feel joy. They feel safe. They feel calm, excited, empowered, confident, secure, excited to move forward, and grateful. A lot of gratitude. So, you've just installed the first scene in your movie projector of your new emotional blueprint movie to put on the screen and replace the old faulty one that was installed in your childhood. Do you see how feeling that new experience free from the thought, like CBT, just change that thought, reorganize it, tell it's a lie, give yourself a new thought. Doesn't work. You have to feel the experience. And you just felt it. And what did your thoughts do? They changed. I put you in the trauma moment, made you feel it and think it. And by getting you into metacognition, I was able to shift the way you feel, which changed the way you think. That's root level solutions. That's closing up open heart surgery. All right. So do you see, emotional regulation isn't about managing your symptoms so you can just endure life. It's about taking radical responsibility for just perfectly imperfect parenting moments. We're human. Parents get tired. Parents get snappy. All right? They have bad days. Sadly, it creates an emotional childhood programming in all of us. But now you can see, you can set both of you free from that. So if you're sitting here right now and feeling a bit overwhelmed, maybe for you, you've gone through a lot of stuff. Maybe for you, it's easy to admit, oh yeah, my parents were less than perfect and I'm so dysregulated, I need a lot of help. Regardless if you're that person or you're just fascinated by what you've just learned, I have something that's going to really help you. Head on over to my website, kennyweiss.net. And down on the bottom right, you're going to see this little conversation window. All right? That's my brand new AI clone. And I've uploaded every book, every framework, every solution I've ever created. It's like 9 million words of content. And it's been trained to, it types out a little bit differently than I would, but its understanding of the problem, its ability to weave complex, it's just like me, literally. It's going to talk to you directly as though I would. All right. It's completely free to use. And it's literally like having a one-on-one conversation with me. And you can ask it anything. Ask it about your triggers, your relationship, your addiction issues. Maybe you want to learn more about the worst day cycle, authentic self cycle, the emotional authenticity method. Just ask it. It'll give you the exact root cause solutions and feedback I would give you. So go test it out and get the help you need right now. Now, while you're there, if you're fascinated by it, you can also go take my completely free assessments. One is my childhood emotional assessment, or you can take my emotional blueprint quiz. Both of those are going to help you identify the exact emotional origins of your worst day cycle and your emotional blueprints. Now, and those are, again, they're both completely free. Now, for those of you who are maybe further along and you've been using CBT, DBT, IFS, emotional intelligence, and you've probably gotten some benefit from it. Remember, it's a Band-Aid. It's helped a little bit. And you're like, no, I'm ready to stop this loop for good. Well, check out my books. Check out my other classes. Check out my freedom assessments. That's with me. It's a 90-minute session or just a simple private coaching session. Whatever it is, just pick whatever feels best to you and wherever you are in your journey on dealing with all of this, okay? The links to all of those are in the description below this video. On the other hand, maybe you don't want to do any of it. Whatever, just take your time. Allow yourself just the space to process whatever feels right for you, okay? No matter what choice you make, I just want you to know that when you're ready, you actually now have a root level solution, not a Band-Aid symptom-based topical approach. And this solution will provide you with the root level emotional regulation you came looking for. And so when you're ready, it's waiting for you. But before you go, I have to say this to every client and to every person. And I really hope you embody this. You are not broken, and you're not to blame. You and your parents did the best you could with the information you had at the time. But now you know a little bit more from watching this video. And so if you want to, you can choose to learn gain the knowledge, skills, and tools to equip yourself a little bit more with tools that actually work at the root level. And just remember, this isn't a character defect. You were just programmed. And those programs can be rewritten. So I'll see you in the next video.